So here's the plan. We are going to make changes, fam. It's going to get done. No more having to get it approved up through Congress and through Senate and by the president and the senior executive service and all that. We no more of that, right? We don't want a bunch of lawyers who don't know us thousands of miles away making decisions for us. No, we want farmers making decisions for farmers, people involved in housing and energy making those calls. We want local folks, people we know and love, getting it done. So there's a whole new way to organize this. Any of our plans are going to be better than what we have already. Believe that. But we can do so much better. Let's get on it. And I think this is going to be fantastic. We're going to divide our government, our legislation, any executive decisions that need to be made between 12 different groups of people who actually live and work in the community. All equals, making the decisions themselves. We believe that a government should be simple. You should be able to teach how government works in 10 minutes. You should be able to teach how economics works in about 10 minutes. It shouldn't take 4 years of schooling just to get more confused and groomed into a crazy world and just perpetuate the problems we have, right? We want to create something new. We are creating something new that is simple, that is understandable, where we work together as equals, where we get around a circle and hold hands and get it done. We'll divide the responsibilities of the community into different sections, and people will work in those groups on those councils. There will be a council who's working on healing and medicine, one on energy and communications, one with housing and shelter. There'll be another council that works with food and water, one with distribution, one with tech and transportation, one with outreach, okay, one with nature and animal stewardship, skills and labor, you get it. And all the folks involved will be working together, communicating together on a regular basis so that they can act quickly in love. This is, of course, just the scrappy one. This is just the sketches, but you're seeing where we're going. If you notice, we don't value the individual over the community or the community over the individual, or we don't consider corporations people, right? We consider people and animals and non-humans, off-worlders, in-worlders as people, okay? We're going to treat all sources, creatures with love and respect, okay? And we need a balance in that. We need to recognize that no one part of the flower is more important than the other, right? We're all going to come together and respect one another as equals, and we're going to come to the center, in the table of source and service, our little round table here, and we're going to discuss these things, and we're going to get it done. We're going to communicate daily. We're going to communicate all together at the table weekly. And on the 30th of every month, we are going to have our plans in place so that on the 1st we can execute, so that we will be able to have all plans, all changes necessary, all decisions made regarding governance, finance, distribution, whatever, within 30 days. Okay, so 12 councils with a maximum of 12 people each. That's a total government of 144 people. Okay, all equals living and working alongside their friends and family. They're not all just hanging out in their little little cubby, their little governance cubby, their little cubicles acting important. No, they're out farming too. We're doing this together, and then we come together and make decisions together like a family, like a good business, like we were meant to, as equals. Knowing that no one part is more important than the other, and that our roots reach deeply into source, and plants, the animals, Mama Midgard, our human family. This supports us, okay? So all things we need as a society can be easily collected into groups. For instance, in skills and labor, you'll have your transitional training. And for those who were, say, once in coal, but now need to work in, over unity bloom boxes and energy devices, for instance. People who are working in transportation may need a little bit of education in the new way we're doing that kind of thing. Also, too, you look at the security, you'll notice we've got fire, EMT, on-call personal security. We won't have cops walking around, There will be people who are designated to handle those services, and if necessary, they'll be called. It's not going to be a full-time job sitting in the firehouse, okay? Not in a small community. Eventually, we may need that, or a larger plan we will. But ultimately, we want people living their lives, and among their friends and their family, doing good work together. So also too, like in distribution, you notice that includes governance, finance, a secretarial. Persons like Kim and Thomas would fit very nicely here. Highly likely they would be elected to positions of executive, say, when necessary to break ties and that kind of thing. They would fit great in there from my perspective. Who knows where they want to go? But people who really have an understanding of the overview of the macro and can also and feed that to the micro. People with a understanding of need, not greed. What it means to really help. There's a place for everybody in THI in these positions of governance, but we won't need everyone to be in there. We want people doing what they want to do, okay, and to be able to plug themselves in. But if we look at government like a flower, like something that grows together in love and harmony, we can organize it in that way and get a lot further. So on to the next. So what we have here is your general layout. I like my graph paper of the first THI cooperative community. The idea was to create a space, a sovereign space where everybody could come together, work together in harmony, and execute their plans all together. Instead of being disparate and having all of our people doing different projects all over Oregon, it made sense to us to build a village, community, where we can do all the good we need to do together. So what we've been doing is putting all our plans together, all the different ideas for housing and food and manufacturing and, environmental concerns, things like that, have all been coming together. And this is one of the sketches of a village, a THI cooperative community. My daughter, Moonrock, she's the youngest member of THI. She's 10 years old. She was helping me put this together. And she said that it has all the elements it needs for people to live and thrive and be happy and enjoy each other's company. And she says all the elements, so we should call it Elementia. So the working title of our first THI cooperative community here, we're just calling it Elementia for now. And putting all the elements together to have the great recipe, great chemistry for something wonderful and inspired by source and service. So you'll notice, take a peek here. There's a lot of ways to lay it out. The land you get is going to make a lot of difference, but I put it near a river, water source. Here in Oregon, we have lots of water, and, coastlines and lakes and stuff, and water is important. So I put it near mountains and hills, and you'll notice that you might not be able to see it all super clearly here. That's okay. I'm going to do a great version of this later. It's going to be full color for the full presentation later for the people who need to see it. THI family and those involved. But you'll notice here we have in the upper right, in the upper right section of this, we have all of our needs essentially. Here's where we have our crops. We have orchards, right? We have medicinal crops as well. We will have bees, worms, mushrooms, all those things. Those little details are important. You'll also need the facilities to store and process these things. You don't want to just grow a bunch of food and then have to ship it out and bring it back. You want to be independent. You want to be autonomous. So, again, not sovereignty, right? So we want to have our storage and processing there, our waste and recycling, as well as any kind of industry that needs to produce that we need to produce things. We'll have the facility to do so. Equipment shed up there, and a farmer's market and sharing space there on the right, on the east of the river I've got there. And you'll notice that just to the west of that, you'll see our little homes built in the plains and the hills there in the village. Tiny homes, dome homes, earth ships, you name it. They'll all be welcome here. People in their living vans. A lot of people want location independence and just want to turn their entire house into a van. Not like a big weird RV, but there'll be a place for everything there. There'll be no need for cars here whatsoever, or money, but we'll get to that. We will have community gardens in there. So everyone in their little tiny homes, little dome homes, they can work together and grow the food that they actually want to eat. It has a civic circle where we get all the governance done. Remember those councils we were talking about before? Well, they'll have a building to do that work. You'll notice there's a vendor village. There's sports, recreation, and performance, right? So if you want to have a soccer fields, concerts, all that stuff, right? It's there. We have that taken care of. You look down, you'll notice that there's all the council buildings will have ancillary and outbuildings as necessary. So say you have your medical folks, your medical council, your civic circle will have the medical facilities built off the back of that. Anyone, for instance, you might have, well, I won't go into too many details here, but the reality is you'll have a place for everyone to fit their stuff. There's a vendor village there off to the east of that where people can peddle their wares, give them away, share them, have a place for everyone to go and walk through town, grab some lunch, a little space like that, little market space, as well as the public house and music there. You got to have a pub, you got to have a dance floor. So that's right there at the south side of the vendor village by the bridge there. Below that, you'll need other workspaces, offices, and studios for people perhaps who do art, dancing, other things. A lot of different jobs and labor and recreation, they require different facilities. So you want to make sure that's all there. If you go down below the civic circle, you'll notice there's a pathway that leads to two big old parks that are going to be surrounded by trees. It's going to, from the top view, it looks kind of like a flower. Yeah, that's on purpose. There's going to be an occasion tower and where the learning centers and libraries are as well. Right now, I'm just calling it the Temple of Gratitude, and it will be wonderful. That's where we're going to have education. Kids can go there to learn. Grown-ups can go there to learn. We'll have libraries. And again, it's an occasion tower. So if we have dignitaries, visiting folks, you might have austere occasions here. You might have big council meetings. The Galactic Council is going to need a place to meet, on the surface at some point. So we'll put that here in the Temple of Gratitude. Below that, we have our transportation hub. Okay, that's where you're going to have your, that's where you'll be sticking your spaceships and whatnot, or whatever you need to move on and off the village area, out of that space. We're going to need a transportation hub. I want to move that way down. Now, the thing is, that's also close to the guest lodging on the east and the visitor center down in the southeast area, so that people who just show up here will have a place to stay and understand what's happening and perhaps participate. We could have seasonal lodging as well for folks who want to be involved, maybe in like a temporary labor project, this kind of thing. But regardless, I had to first lay out, this is one of many sketches. Some of us have been doing these for years. A lot of people at THI Oregon have been drawing this stuff up for a long time. So this is just a great opportunity. This is like sketch 99 for a lot of us. But let's peek in at a little more of that detail. So some of the details people are going to be asking about is where do we start and who's involved? Well, let me tell you this. We have a lot of people who are ready with big plans. We know people. We have the phone numbers. We have the groups. We have incredible gardeners here. We have incredible builders here. There's a lot of forward-thinking people here. Very earthy people. Oregon is just chock full of people who already want to live harmoniously off the grid, integrated with their communities. I mean, there's in a lot of ways, Oregon is just primed for this. It's like wanting this already. When we talk to a lot of folks in Oregon about this, it's just like what they've always dreamed of. It's not actually something new. It's something they thought was impossible. It's not. We're doing it. So when you look at these things, I think it would be important to imagine how you could fit in, what you would do, what you'd want to add, what you think we really need as humanity, as a human family, as part of Source's children on this globe, on Mighty Mama Midgard. How do we live in respect together and dream big so that we can do it? Well, when we come together and we put these ideas down, you'd be amazed how fast we come up with, oh, I know a guy that can build that right now. I know somebody who can plant that tomorrow. I know someone who's handled that for 20 years in their vocation and would love to do this. There's so many people who are ready to fire. And what we're doing here is we're creating jobs. We're creating a new world, a new life for people so that other folks can replicate this later at a larger level. This is just one little village. This could be a state. It could be a nation. You can run a country this way. You can run a planet this way. You could let a planet run itself in harmony this way. So it's super important, too, that we tackle the money. Remember when Kim was saying maybe not everyone heard this, but she was talking about ending money in 500 years. And then a couple weeks ago, she said something about ending money in 10 years. Well, Idra and I at THI Oregon were thinking, let's do that tomorrow. Let's start building a city where you don't need money right now. And so we have both come up with some ideas for sovereignty economics based on trade-based value of your energetic input. And I'm not going to go crazy long on this right now. This is just one version of it, but it might sound really big and crazy and impossible to people to change the way we think about money or even need it, right? A lot of people won't let that go. They want lots of money. They don't want it to change, or they don't realize how badly inside they probably do want it to change, But we can change it. We absolutely can. And a lot of us are excited to do exactly that. We've designed a community that requires no money to live there. If you live in this community, you will never need to pull out your wallet. If you live here and you work here, all things can move through a sharing economy, through a gift economy, through a love economy, right? And we will never require money. We will no longer need to assign monetary value to our energy and our work. We won't be required to convert our soul, our source energy into pieces of paper, okay? We won't need to do that. That's a way to do it. For a long time, money seemed useful, right? Like if you're like barter's trippy, right? Like if you're a corn farmer and you need shoes, well, you what are you gonna do? Drag like 20 bushels of corn to the cobbler and be like, "Yo, man, I need shoes," and then the cobbler's like, "Yeah, but I don't want your dumb corn, bro. So peace." Well, if you have a conversion method, right? You don't have to carry all that stuff around. People may not want what you have. You can convert it into cash. It's good for trade. It's efficient, But it doesn't have to be that way. And Idra and I, are thinking a lot about it. This is just a quick idea just to get people's heads wrapped around it, not the full version. But this is just one of the things I was thinking about in terms of just ridding our community of money. And yet we still need to interact and trade with outsiders, right? With those in the old world, people who are still holding on to money. We've developed a way to make that work. We found, Idra and I are both thinking of different ways. I cannot wait to see hers, of ways to value our time and not just put money, or assign a monetary value to it. However, we can, if necessary. And I won't blow you out of the water with like too many words and too many details right now, but just know that it's absolutely doable to come together and work without cash. I will say this: you can record how much time people have put in terms of labor into your community, and if trade is needed outside of your community, you can convert that into cash as necessary. For instance, maybe you want a bike. In our community, there's gonna be no cars, man. A lot of walking, a lot of bikes. But maybe we don't make bikes at this village, right? So we need to buy some bikes for people. You just want to buy yourself a bike, or you want to buy a bike for someone as a Christmas present who doesn't live in the community. Great. Well, you can convert any amount of time, right, of your energetic input into a trade-based value outside currency and buy it. So it's totally doable to live in a town, right, that has no money, or a state that doesn't operate on money, and interact with those around you who do. It's actually rather simple, and we'll get into the details later. Again, I'm going to drop a full presentation here to get to everybody. I really want to sit down and have the big color layout version with all of our plans, all of our contact information, skill sets, everybody. I mean, we have hundreds of people we could call and fire on building this, fam. But you have to visualize it first. You have to dream it up first. You have to believe in it first. You have to become centered and allow source to move through you without any desire, right? Other than service, right? Other than love, other than family. So we can do this. It's been, horrible half-assers, cabal, deep state Illuminati punks have been running it for so long, doing such a shitty job. Like, the least among us at THI can do better, right? But we have to get together and do it. So we are. And we're inviting you to imagine, plug yourself mentally into where you think you could go, where you could fit, how you could help. What's your dream life of service to others? What kind of community do you want to live in? Well, dream it up. We are. We're ready to staff it. Like we're ready to go to work next week on this, fam. And I think a lot of THI is ready to do this, and people outside THI. We have a lot of people who haven't spent 10 years studying hidden history and figuring it all out. But what they have done is they spent the last 10 years helping people. We can call someone right now who can build you 24 tiny homes. We can just go bow. We know people who can plant now. We know people with land now. Okay, we've got what it takes. We just have to come together and do it. So that's what's happening. And I just want to end here and say, look, I love you all. Thank you all for all you've given. I thought this again would be done by now, but you all have been giving me so many new ideas and dropping so many things into the mix, and good things, that I want to put them all in. I want to put them all in properly and really hear what you have to say and make sure I'm representing THI Oregon and their ideas properly. So yes, thank you guys. Keep sending this stuff in. Everybody, dream big. We have to act now so that love wins.